Good afternoon. How's everyone there like fitness? Well, how about fitness building on your campus? I'm Brian Brennan.
I'm Anthony DeValla.
And I'm Grayson McDonald.
And this is our Student Wellness Center design.
We decided to choose the exact same site as the previous group. We chose behind the quad next to the apartments. This will be on the old practice soccer field and a little bit onto the softball field. We thought this was a good site because it would also be more catering to upperclassmen who are generally farther away from services in the BFC for like the body shop and counseling services. We chose the size to be about 300 by 180 feet. We thought this was good because it would allow additional paths to be put in place in parking lots. We know the idea was brought up for outsiders to come in and pay a fee to use the services of the Wellness Center. So we thought it would be a good idea to install a parking lot just behind the building. This would be a good spot because it wouldn't need us to demolish any trees or clear any land or anything. So this is the exterior of our building. We wanted it to match the other buildings on campus. So we have a brick exterior with a concrete foundation and an insulated roof. We also chose to go with skylights with textured glass because it would provide a lot of natural light without putting a lot of glare on the athletes in the building. We also went with large second story windows for natural lighting, but much smaller windows on the first floor, which will also be textured. This is for privacy because a lot of our bathrooms and like athletic and spiritual facilities, as well as the locker rooms, are on the first floor, so we want to make sure there's plenty of privacy for them.
So our focus for this building is to accommodate as many people as possible. We have 2 floors with a second type VIP lounge. This lounge is kind of like a stadium looking into the gym. Here there will be chairs, tables, lounge chairs, and couches, which will give students a place to sit down and do homework or relax and watch a basketball game, in addition to the bleachers that are already existing in the gym. Some additional features that we have are 4 stair sets and an elevator leading to the second floor. The second floor is completely carpeted to ensure that there's just comfort and helps out with the total aesthetics of the building. We have airlock doors to help with the air quality and also Brita filters for hydration throughout the entire building.
An important part of our design was to incorporate mind, body, and spirit. And while our building incorporates all 3 of these things and there's much overlap, the way our building actually worked out is some of the sections are primarily dedicated to each of these focuses. And as you can see here on the second floor, it's primarily focused to the mind. Up here is where we have our offices, which will be split between groups such as OSA and the Well, as well as there'll be coaches' offices up there to have player meetings. And there'll also be, we wanted to incorporate study rooms too, because this building is going to be located closer to the quads and the apartments, rather than the library. That's a little farther. So we figured we'd add a few study rooms here for in case people, they wanted to go maybe after workout and study, so they don't have to make tons of trips across campus. They can go there, they can study, and they can go back. A primary focus of the mind and mental wellness too is we'll have many therapy offices up here, which would be soundproof, and there would be much privacy for people who are needing those and want to take advantage of that. Our next section would be the first floor. A large portion of this section is dedicated to physical wellness. We sectioned off such a large part to physical activity because we knew this would be the main draw for students. This would be the main motivation to come and use the building. But then once they're there, they would be able to realize all the other aspects that the building has to offer.
The main features of our athletic facilities, we have a full scale basketball court in the center, along with a scaled down indoor track. We did this because we envisioned the Wellness Center being much more geared towards just students and not competitions with other schools. We wanted it to be just a service for students and faculty alike. We also are going to have rubber flooring for any other activities you want to do on the main floor. We also plan on having a weight room for athletics, as well as a physical trainer's room for anybody that has to deal with injuries. We'll also have 6 locker rooms. I know Dean Kalenda had has suggested that there be more locker rooms in case any athletic teams need to go in there for practice or anything. We'll also have a health food bar. This is for, we don't want this to be just a typical concession stand. We want it to be more geared towards health food and like protein shakes for people in the gym and stuff like that. Our last section is the spiritual section. We kind of say the eastern end of our building for this section, so it's farther away from the gym, and it'll have a lot less noise, so it's more peaceful. We'll also have soundproof rooms in there. For this section, we're going to have a relaxation room, which will have bean bags and hammocks, and just be a place where people can go and relax and listen to music or do stuff like that. In addition to this, we plan on having an outdoor pavilion, so when the weather's a little nicer, it can serve similarly, like just a place where people can go and relax after working or studying or doing whatever. We're also going to have a prayer room. What's important for us is for this to be non-denominational, so we don't want it just be focused on one sort of religion. We want people of all kinds of backgrounds and religions to be able to come here and use this. So we do plan on having certain religious texts in here, but we don't plan on it being just focused towards church or something. We want it to be all-inclusive of everyone.
An important part of our building is that it's green and energy efficient. To do so, we use the LEED credit check sheet. These are the categories for new building design and construction by the US GDC. Performing the self-assessment, we actually determined that our building would qualify for the silver ranking.
As for site selection, we decided to implement north-facing windows and skylights to take in as much natural light as possible. If you saw in the large selection of it, or the large view of it, we have the windows, the large-facing windows come in, and the stadium windows will allow the light to shine into the gym. This allows for as much light to enter as possible. We have gutters implemented to catch as much rainwater as possible, and this will help with the accumulation of gray water and just any other use of the rainwater that's needed. Our outdoor rainwater collectors will be located probably near our garden selection, just to give it a little bit more of an easier look into it, but they will be connected to the bathrooms for the gray water toilets. Water metering will be implemented just for water monitoring, just to ensure that we're not using too much water.
The next section of LEED is energy and atmosphere. As Anthony said, we'll have the gutters. On top of that, we also plan to incorporate a ledge around the gutters with the green roof. This, as the other group said, this would filter the water. We can use that to implement into our gray water toilets. And it also would provide for, on really rainy days, it would allow us to ensure that we capture most of the water, because sometimes if too much water would flow out, it would not be captured by our rainwater collectors. So this provides for a nice, smooth distillation of the water coming out of the gutters. We would also have more green space around the pavilion area. We would have gardens, which we would have two types of gardens. We would have more aesthetic-looking, peaceful gardens to provide a nice atmosphere for people sitting outside, as well as gardens that could potentially grow fruits or vegetables that could be incorporated into our health bar to be used for smoothies or vegetable drinks, such as that.
The insulated roof will help with the thermal comfort of the entire building. I failed to mention just before in the previous slide, we were implementing on using geothermal loops. This was said before by the other groups. It'll help with cooling in the summer and also heating in the winter. We want to enforce a 25-foot radius, no smoking section throughout the building, just because that's air quality. Like, we do not want any contaminated air entering the building. With that, we have the airtight doors that will help keep this out. In addition, we have the natural lighting, as said before, and LED lights implemented throughout the building. The lights will mostly be on the first floor, and part of them will be on the second floor. We don't really want too many lights within the gym or on the second floor, just because there's no need. During the daytime, it's completely lit. It's mostly downstairs within the locker rooms and the hallways in between that will need the lights. with these backup lights, or the backup lights will also have just emergency lights if power decided, or power does go out.
Also in the previous slide, you saw one of the lead sections was transportation. This involves our site location. We plan to have bike racks, and as Grayson said before, we'd have it easily paved everywhere, so it'd be easily accessed by anyone walking or biking. And the small parking lots, this would discourage everyone to just drive themselves up, and it would more encourage carpooling or people who actually needed to drive there, such as someone who was injured and they couldn't walk across campus to get there if they needed physical therapy or the handicap. The paths aren't too long, and the small parking lots would really discourage too much pollution with transportation. So in conclusion, our building tries to remain as sustainable as possible while incorporating all three pillars of mental wellness, mind, body, and physicality. So thank you for your time and consideration. Are there any questions?
How are you incorporating a green roof and sides?
The top section, as you can see, we didn't really build it in Revit because we had troubles with that, but there would be a ledge that would kind of go around the perimeter of the building. That would probably rise to about there, if it's kind of scales off, and that would have the green plants all around. And those would filter through to the gutters.
Where on the perimeter do you envision putting the sort of social garden space and the vegetable garden space?
Very slide.
So this was because we knew we would have to cut into the softball field, so we would have that extra space, and we decided that's where we would install the pavilion, and around that would be the gardens. So that would be on the west side of the building.
We also decided, in talking, we were going to move the softball field to the same spot that the other group said, previous group said, in between soccer stadium and the turf field.
If you're moving the softball field to in between the turf and the varsity soccer field, do you have extra room for soccer practice fields? Because I know you're building around there, and then that would take up room for the other practice field. That's how you can the process.
We didn't actually know if it was necessary to put in another practice field. We know I've seen soccer people practice on the whole field all the time, but we didn't think it was necessary to build another field.
And we also figured, we know you don't want to practice on the game field when the weather's not right to tear up the field, but we could also, on days when it's nicer, that wouldn't cause a problem.